And a very warm welcome to you. Welcome back to the News Preview. This is K24 This Morning. As always, we like your feedback at K24 TV. You can also SMS us on 21222. We have an SMS from Mukobia Mutanoshia. He says, absolutely very true. I like British Salachi's position. Our problems are within Jubilee, not outside. Raila is in ODM, Kalonzo, Wiper, Mudavadi, ANC, Weta, Trafford, Kenya, etc. Our Jubilee problems have been created by the corrupt Jubilee leaders who don't want to fight corruption. As always, keep them coming in at K24 TV. We'll be looking at them as we go throughout the show. We'll shift a bit from matters politics to education. Daily Nation's front page, teachers failed the test on grade 3 assessment. As some children found out yesterday, an exam by any other name would be just as stressful. The whole principle behind the CBC and assessment, and I think the ministry was at pains to try and explain that this is not a national exam. No one will be left behind. We just want to see how they've grasped what they've been taught so far as they move along. But it seems like the implementation, which is always the issue, is where the problem lies therein. You know, the children still feeling very stressed, and you can imagine this is a child who's in grade 3. Are we already having these teething problems, or do you need to have a fresh look at how we are actually, rolling out this process, Honorable Elachi? I
think they are teething problems because, when you look at our children, I think the way God has created children is very interesting. They will get it. Mm-hmm. Let's first start from there, because it's just like the way you remove your child from an 844 system and take the child to a GC system, and you find in the first couple of months the child will, but in the end when the child now gets it, it will be okay. So these are just, for me, this is standard 3. It's a teething problem. Right. This child, when you get her or he in standard 4, you'll be so surprised how her mind will have just evolved into so for me, let us just give them time. I don't know what type of a test it is that they're looking at or how they're assessing them. The thing we should be asking ourselves is, while we assess our children, it's like the first 844, and there were a lot of teething problems and people, students understanding, pupils understanding how it was evolving the same way. But for me, I would wish we just give it time, because I know in the end it will come and it will open up a very different child. You'll wonder how there's an inner drive a child has that this type of education will help he or she to come out.
She says teething problems. Honorable Wanda, yesterday we had one of your counterparts from the Assembly, Bishop Hamala. He also has his own school that he's running, and he says they haven't gotten communication from the ministry. The teachers don't know how to conduct this assessment, saying the training that they did over the holidays wasn't sufficient. All of these hurdles being put in place, saying also money is an issue in terms of printing these particular documents that are supposed to print in terms of the examination. Is it communication? Did we start too soon? Is it because they said bulldozing is an issue that's coming from the CS?
Not necessarily. Any kind of transition would face similar problems. I know very well, having been in the second group of the 844 system, during the time of the transition, we had serious problems. I remember for the first time during a mock examination, I encountered music and art and craft tests, yes, which I was not adequately prepared for.
So you've experienced
yes. So we must also congratulate the CS, Professor Magoha and his team, for working tirelessly to administer this process. Kenya just need to be patient. I know we like being perfectionists, yes, but education is a very sensitive subject to be handled in a manner that is rushed. So I suggest that we give the team time, but more importantly, we want to encourage them to be more transparent and then explain to the public what they are going through, yes, what people should expect. Let not raise public expectations too high. Yeah, whereas they know that there are challenges, which are bound to be there in any arrangement here.
And because you've seen from various points of view, some teachers saying they're not adequately trained, parents not sure what to expect, students as well. They did a spot check on Friday coming into Monday, and they didn't know. They knew there was an assessment, but they don't know if it's an exam, if it's being graded, all of this. Should we just have everyone brought together once again for this discussion to be had, or will they learn as they move along? Mr. Nyoko.
When I listen to various leaders speak about the implementation of the new curriculum, it brings the question on how our policy-making process in Kenya and how we implement those various policies. Because there appears to be a disconnect between the policy formulation and implementation. And probably we should learn from this. What I think needs to be done is that the various stakeholders need to quickly re-examine where the challenges are and give mitigation measures so that then as we go forward, we are able to really solve the problems that exist and make the entire curriculum a better curriculum for the country. Because as is, I do not think that the government will want to back down on what it has implemented. It will have really caused confusion. It will have a crop of children in Kenya who will be neither here nor there. In fact, when in one of my engagements, one of the teachers from an up-country county was very clear that they had a problem in implementing this because the nature of the materials they need are not available in those regions. So you see, the policy makers and the ministry and the other stakeholders need quickly to go to those regions and assess, if we are saying we are implementing this program and there are these challenges, then how do we solve it? If we are sending the examination or the test questions to various institutions through internet, and we are talking about a region deep in Nyamira, in Kemasara, where the internet is not there, then the question asks, how then do we expect the school to be at the same level with the school, for example, Rockefeller Academy in Nairobi? So the implementation part is what they need to dig deeper and what they need to urgently do is get a team to re-examine what are these challenges and respond to them. Okay, fantastic stuff.
But I also think that it is important. You find teachers moving from 844 and they normally go to the GCE and they teach. How?
So you're saying there's a bit of dishonesty among the teachers in there?
Because I've never had where we go for training to start
to move to a different curriculum.
To a different curriculum. It's how you just go into a class, how you read those books. So if our teachers really want this system to move, I know it's a tiring system because you work hard. You work more hard than
so you think that's where the resistance
than the other scheme of work that we normally do. So I'm also saying teachers have to, I'm not saying they're being dishonest. I know they feel that it's a bit tight on them, and assessing a child, you have to take a lot of time on this child. So what we need to ask ourselves as we bring in this, TSC also has to help in to add in more teachers, or because this system of education needs a lot of one-on-one, teacher to child, in terms of now in the learning process. And I know maybe a teacher will have like 100 students or pupils in class. That is going to be very tough. That's where I think the problem is. And we'll follow up on that to see exactly how it is rolled out. But you'll allow me to move on to the devolution report card that was released yesterday. Of course, we've seen the results, and you look at your government and ask them what have they been doing lately. This was released by the All Africa Advisors, and we saw the ranking right there. First place was Governor Mutua. He was the best, followed by Kakameg's Wycliffe Oparanya. Nairobi's Mike Sonko came in third. Makueni's Professor Kivutha Kibwana was fourth, and Mombasa Hassan Joho took the fifth position. Now, what the study involved took three aspects of this. The first part in this particular study was a self-assessment questionnaire that was carried out, and then field verification of what you said, and a public opinion poll as well, as what the people say concerning these particular projects that have been carried out. Let's start with the findings and what the study revealed. Honorable Wandai, do you agree with the report as it was put in place?
Firstly, whereas I don't really know the pollsters or the methodologies they employed, I welcome this kind of surveys. I highly welcome them, in the sense that we need to keep our governors on their toes, so that they can deliver to the people that reside in the counties where they govern. The reason why I'm saying this is that for a long time, Kenyans have clamored for empowerment at the grassroots level. And this was made possible by the enactment of the new Constitution, 2010. And our governors, majority of them, have not lived up to the expectations of the public. And therefore, anybody who can actually carry out a survey and rank them, regardless of the flaws that could be there, must be encouraged to continue doing so. Why would I say so? Because, for a long time we have been talking about corruption at the national level. we have been talking about mismanagement of public resources at the national level. But when the devolution came, we thought that these vices would be left at the national level. But to our surprise, these vices were devolved. Yes, faster than even the functions.
Right.
Yes, and therefore we need to be even more ruthless, yes, with the way our county funds are being utilized, even more than national government. Because why do I say so? You know, once funds have been allocated between the levels of 2 levels of government, and the Senate goes ahead and allocates them among the counties, okay? Those funds that go to the counties, to the respective counties, belong to the peoples of those counties. So anybody stealing funds from a particular county is actually harming the residents of those counties directly. Very directly. Directly, yes. And therefore we need to put in place more mechanisms to hold to account the governors and their bureaucracies.
Okay. Honorable Ondai loves this particular ranking and says more of this should be done. But Honorable Alachi, there are some governors who are saying the reason why we can't implement what you had planned to do and devolve these developments to our people is because the MCAs are people who hold us at ransom. You can't do anything until they get the go-ahead. And I'm at ransom. When they say no, there's nothing that can happen there. It's not really my fault. Should we have them also thrown into this report as well? Because very many governors saying, I want to do, but I can't.
Why?
Because the MCAs won't allow me to move this
forward.
I'm hijacked.
Yeah, the ones who open the coffers to even give the county assemblies what they are supposed to use. So you can't use that as really one of the basis of not performing. For me, what I didn't understand is when one governor has 0. I didn't understand that one.
It's like he was not in office.
Yeah, and yet he's a second-term governor. So I'm asking myself, well, the survey is good. First, I want to thank Oparanya, because by the way you go to Kakamega, you feel it, you see it. So for him, even being #1 would be okay, because I'll go, I'll see, yes, something has really transformed Kakamega town, and not just the town, even the sub-counties. That is yes. But then now when you come, when it's negative, then now you wonder what was negative, because there's -13, -31. So I'm wondering that now, does it mean it's even worse from the 0?
Right. It's worse than how you found it when you came in.
Yes, and then I ask myself, so what was the basis in terms of what are you evaluating or analyzing now to get your scores or to get your grades?
They said one of the things that was top most priority in terms of what they were looking at was infrastructure development and the satisfaction level and perception of county governments had. Of course, that's why they had the public opinion poll on this as well. But I'll bring in Dennis on this, because as they say, when it comes to the questionnaire, every governor will put themselves 100 out of 100, and then you go on the ground and see what has been done. Probably not what we should be seeing as of now. Again, when it comes to the surveys, we'll talk about it. But as residents of probably Nairobi County or whatever county that you come from, how can we push for more accountability? And when you promise something as a governor, when you get in, Dennis, we make sure that you deliver, because that's where the issue really lies at the end of the day, reports or not.
Yes, yes, I agree. Just even before I mention, I respond to what you're saying, I want to assist my sister Elijah here to understand what the negative means.
Yeah, get me to understand why Waitito has negative 615.
It simply means that since you came into office, you've blundered the resources, including what you found there. And that has happened.
That's why you're negative.
And that has happened where you leave the people more destitute than they were when you came into office as a governor. And the county leadership has not done anything to improve even the infrastructure. What they have done is that they are busy running around with their vehicles. The road that was even slightly better is now worse. And when you look at it, we even say, we even wonder whether we need really this county leadership at all. And I will therefore understand. There are regions when you go, and I agree with what she has said. In our own assessment, she actually feels Kakamega, you will walk in and you feel devolution. But there are regions that you will go and you can't feel the same thing. So it means that even ourselves as the general members of the public, we are able to assess. We do not need science. We don't need rocket science. We don't need mathematicians to sit and work on a formula to tell us whether a governor in a given region has performed or not performed.
But some people say, like, in the town, you'll see this development, like, for example, Kakamega town.
Yes.
Ukiingia mashinani, a whole different story. You go to Malaba, other areas, you can't see anything. So are those the loopholes that they're using that we know Elachi will use here, Wandai, Dennis?
No,
so
even
let's tarmac this
by the way, for Kakamega, even in the rural, you will feel Oparanya, honestly, even in the rural.
My sister Lachi is holding brief for Oparanya here today.
No, I'm not holding brief. And by the way, it's not, I always say, it's called a spade a spade.
Yes.
The one that I'm also wondering, I was the other day in Wajir. I would be telling you it is going down than when the governor, the previous governor was there, honestly.
Right.
Garbage is back.
Yes.
It is just unfortunate. Things are just looking bad in Wajir.
So in terms of the ranking, you also have some
yeah,
questions on
I have
that.
some questions because there are places we have gone and we can see.
If you ask me, one of the areas that perhaps we need to look at if and when we do a review of the Constitution, is the mode of electing the governors to office.
We need to relook that as well.
In my view, yes. Yeah, because governorship is purely and essentially a managerial task. But we have made it a purely political process. Like that whoever can run around, get money, dish out, dance better, gets elected. Without really trying to understand the capacity of such a person to govern a county.
How do you think we should do it if we indeed relook?
That would be a long story. Yeah, but perhaps we need a mechanism that would enable the public to infuse, some element of professionalism. Yeah, in whoever gets to lead the counties. In some countries, the fact governors are appointed. Yes.
So you'd feel like probably appointment might be better. We look at your
I'm not saying
CV.
that, but perhaps we could have a hybrid system, yes, that would enable us to address these serious shortcomings. Yes.
I think the problem is more of civic education because we have professionals who offer themselves for these elective positions. And they don't make it.
They can't win.
They do not succeed because the political process is so political that if you come with your ideas on how you want to transform the county, people don't understand. There's
too much noise.
There's too much noise. They simply want to understand if somebody else, B, comes in and tells them that we know that today you are hungry, direct breakfast, have 50 shillings each. That makes more sense to that voter than you who as a professional who comes with the complex theories on how you will transform the entire place. So it's a question of civic education because if we again say that we will make it a question of appointment or purely a professional issue because they are CEOs and it's a management issue, then we'll ask ourselves whether we need to do the same for the presidency because the president is the chief executive for the country, and just like the governor is for the county, it's just 2 levels of government. And if you look at Article 6, they say there should be intertwining operations of these two. It's a whole complex story, but I think our hope of getting out of this mess is bringing the leaders into account, because even a president will fail if the people around him do not really advise him and do not perform. If your cabinet secretaries are not doing what they're supposed to do, as a president, you will be exposed and you will fail. We have rated always President Uhuru Kenyatta very badly in the last elections because of how the people around him performed duties. Today we celebrate him, albeit slightly, because things seem to be working a little bit. We seem to be seeing things happening, and positively, so to speak. If governors and then leadership will always fail if the people around there who are executing the work are not doing what they're supposed to do.
And let's move on from that, but still stick to matters county, because at least yesterday the Division of Revenue Amendment Bill was signed into law, but the senators are not a happy lot, Honorable Wandai. Talking about a lot of mischief as to how that bill got to the president. Makueni Senator talking about the fact that something was handwritten in there as well. So it seems like the mediation process that should have actually moved this process forward and made sure we don't go back there was futile.
The senators should stop splitting hairs. You know, I had always said that this mediation process was being mismanaged because you can't mediate through the media. Okay? It was important that members of that mediation committee from both houses undertake their task in a manner that is professional, of course, with decorum and seriousness. It deserved. But you see now, once the process has been concluded, and the bill has been assented to by the president and to become an act, you come out of the blues and start pontificating about dates of commencement.
They said it wasn't there probably in the meeting. Now they are seeing it as it goes.
They can address it with their colleagues from the National Assembly in-house. You see, Kenyans are not concerned with those intricacies. You see, what is important for us is that we find a mechanism of moving the country forward. There are serious issues with the process of division of revenue bill processing. In my view, it was a mistake to have allowed that process to involve the two houses. But that's my view. Yes. Because otherwise we'll have this limit year in, year out. Okay? But more critically, it has shown, and this is what the senators are not saying, this whole debacle has eventually shown who is the stronger person. And
let's talk about that, because it seems like every time we see them in the media, they'll talk about this bill, they'll talk about this particular committee, but at the end of the day, it's a sibling rivalry we're talking about here. One wants to prove that they're bigger than the other.
I love today on Rwanda's admission of the real problem. Sibling rivalry is a question of who is stronger and who is bigger in this. And I think we made a mistake from the start when we had an upper house which was not really an upper house. If we need to make a decision as Kenyans whether we really need an upper house or because if you ask me, the Senate seems to be desperate. It does not have anything useful to do. They can't even execute their own mandate.
It's clueless,
because they're not clueless on Rwanda. What they are is that they are being gagged.
You can see the playing out already.
This is playing out. I wouldn't want to say they're clueless. Just that their mandate is so limited that sometimes they do not have options. Because and this has come out, and probably we need to empower them more, because now what has happened is that the member of parliament feel like they are the God's gift to humanity and the Kenyans. So if they say, they say. If they do not like what it is, that is their own opinion. And I think it's unfortunate. We had a constitution. We agreed to create a Senate. We gave them a constitutional mandate. It's important that each institution is left to perform its function so that we can have a better country. When we had this constitution, we allowed all these institutions in place so that in the ultimate result, the Kenyans benefit. Now, when we make an house dysfunctional, like the National Assembly is doing to the Senate, and as they say now, we can see who is bigger, who is stronger, and that has come out clearly, then it means we are actually wasting taxpayers' money. We do not need this particular house. We're going back to the same system where we are saying we may not even need commissioners, because the constitutional commissions are not necessary, because the Assembly can do it, the President can always appoint ad hoc committees. But there was a reason why we put these institutions in place, to check the powers that were vested in one center. And
let's talk about that, because yesterday a very interesting comment came in, Honorable Elachi, and they said that what we did with the new constitution was remove the dictatorship from the presidency to the National Assembly. So that's what we did. We moved it from one person to around 300 individuals. But the same thing is going on now.
But you see, all the original, I mean, the first Senate, most of them were members of parliament. So what really happened at that time? You know, that is where we used to ask them. But you were part of the process in Naivasha. So how did you change the law yourselves and decided you want a Senate that looks like this, that goes with functions of county governments? So since you did that, it is now up to us again to go back to the Constitution and see. The question will be, will the Senate want to do some of the national, because why you will always find the National Assembly moving is because most of their functions are within the national government. And therefore the Senate decided we will do the functions of the county government. But they didn't realize it is not as easy as they think. But after working within the county assemblies, they have so much to do, by the way. It's only that I don't think they would want to really engage at that level. I don't know whether they find it so village. But there are many issues in the county governments that we really need Senate to help us to work around, to open up.
You've been both in the House and you've also been
at if you send me back to the Senate, I will know just where to touch, where we've had all these issues we are talking about. There are issues of laws that you just need to rework around and do a few amendments in the County Governments Act, in the Intergovernmental Act, and how you work with national government, how Senate can even question all these other small institutions that are working around them, whether we really need them or whether we really need to strengthen them, because they don't have the capacity to deal with the magnitude of issues that are even in the county government.
Right. So it's not, the solution isn't scrapping them.
No.
Okay.
The solution is in terms of how do you understand the role you're playing.
But you see now, the issue at hand, what they are talking about is...
okay, the revenue bill.
Which is commencement date.
The
moment they were agreeing to the figure they agreed to in the mediation process.
So they agreed to the 316?
Yes. Now, which financial year were they talking about? It was clearly 2019, 2020. When does the financial year commence? It's common sense. Right. The 1st of July.
So it's oversight on their part.
Yes. So what are they talking about? Yes. Let them go ahead and enact the county revenue allocation bill to give the counties money to stop wasting time. Really.
Okay. As you can see, Honorable Wanda is still talking tough as far as the National Assembly and Senate is concerned. And it's an issue, of course, will still be